Ladies and gentlemen, a new season is upon us, and what would a new season be without at least one tourism subsidy anime? Yes, those anime based on a source material that gets some sort of government subsidies because they promoted tourism to their location. This time, Touring After the Apocalypse, a new series that sort of takes a twist on, Biyori and Eurocamp and Girls Last Tour. Kind of combining all of them into one for surprisingly interesting little show that I've actually enjoyed quite a bit. But those are my thoughts on the first two episodes, so let's just jump right into it. Touring After the Apocalypse opens up with Yoko and Airi, and they're traveling across Japan, taking in all the different sights that once were. Yes. As I sort of alluded to earlier, this world has had the apocalypse happen. Some sort of catastrophe happened in the past that pretty much wiped out mankind, and Yoko and Airi have been basically living for a long time underground inside of this bunker. Now, during the entire time that Yoko and Airi are inside of this bunker, Yoko was spending a lot of her time getting lessons from her sister through some sort of live feed. But additionally, Yoko spent a lot of her time just looking at different magazines and information about different locations in Japan. See, her sister at some point traveled across Japan and took a lot of photos from different locations, and Yoko wished to one day be able to go out and do exactly what her sister did. Well, one day she decided to break out of the shelter. Her and Airi go out, and they go out to the world itself, now overgrown by nature. Different animals and creatures have seen some sort of, mutations because of what happened with the world itself. But they just travel around and just take in the sights, going to different locations that her sister took photos of, and seemingly getting different memories of those locations. They run into a defense vehicle that has its AI go haywire and attack them, at which point we find out that Airi apparently can produce a plasma cannon from her arm. They go to the hot springs. They run into this one guy that pretty much replaces his entire body with cybernetics, who apparently left his family behind. And Yoko gets a fish stolen from her by a gigantic shark. That's pretty much the gist so far of Touring After the Apocalypse. Like I said, so far, I've been enjoying this show. I think it has enough here that's been pretty enjoyable. I think for a lot of these types of shows where it's go to location, take in the sights type of shows, it really kind of hinges on the chemistry of the characters. And Yoko and Airi have been okay so far. Plus, it seems like they may do this sort of thing where they'll bring in additional characters here and there and tell stories of other people. Sort of what they did with episode 2 with Schwar. Schwar, again, being this guy who replaces pretty much his entire body except for his head, seemingly, with robotics. And the fact that he lost a lot of his memories, but after some while with Yoko and Airi, suddenly remembers his family and thus yearns to be able to return to them. But yeah, Airi, I absolutely love her. She's kind of a Renge character. That's why I said earlier with Biyori. Airi just feels like she's just a copy-paste of Renge, which is really great because she's got kind of that muted face expression to herself, a little bit of a goofiness to her, very cute and short. But yes, implying that she's some sort of robot or android or something because, again, she could produce a plasma cannon out of her arm. That's not really normal for most people. My assumption is that she was probably given to Yoko by her big sister to protect Yoko. Now, Yoko is probably the biggest kind of mystery that I have for the show, which I do like that. I'm not the type that typically likes these types of shows, again, tourism type of shows, where it's about character going to location. Oh, now they're in Yokohama. Now they're over here at Akakone. I don't really care much for those types of shows. I did enjoy Eurocamp, but Eurocamp very quickly got tired for me with the whole going to locations. I still like the characters. It just feels like ever since Eurocamp got big, every single season we have to have a show about somebody just going to places, sitting down in front of a shop, eating food, going umai, and then it has in the corner, please call now for this restaurant reservations. It just feels like everything has to be an advertisement. This one has a nice little kind of filter all the top of it, and the idea that everything has been overgrown. Wildlife itself has taken over, Yoko and her kind of going into locations. I've always kind of liked that feeling of an apocalypse setting. So it's got more of a feel of something like Girls Last Tour. For those that have not seen that series, go watch it. Girls Last Tour kind of has a similar setup to this, but with Girls Last Tour, they're in a tank, whereas this one, they're on a bike. And yes, Girls Last Tour is much more warped. That world is much more sci-fi warped. But anyways, coming back to Yoko, I think that she's probably the biggest kind of oddity to add to the story that's at least giving a little bit of intrigue to what they might do with the story overall. And the idea that I don't believe that Yoko is human. I'm just going to come out and say, I don't think Yoko is human. Why I say that is because throughout the series so far, Yoko constantly keeps losing consciousness and then recalling memories of the time that she was with her sister. The current time setup is implying that Yoko was trapped inside of this shelter and then eventually broke out and wants to view places that her sister took photos of, But then we keep seeing Yoko have memories of being at those locations with her sister, taking pictures of her sister. Yes, at the very beginning of the first episode, we got to see somebody who I'm assuming is her big sister riding off on a bike with somebody else. But that somebody else, if I recall, was much older than what Yoko appears to be. And yeah, you can also say somebody living in a shelter for long enough for some sort of nuclear fallout, or for the environment itself to restore, or for at least everything to be overgrown by plants. They're not going to look like she looks. She looks like she's like 14. A lot more time has to pass before nature itself is going to restore itself. And they've sort of implied that something happened to the world, like a, I don't know, space laser or nuclear fallout, some war happened or something like that. I think they're going for space lasers. Alien invasion, question mark? And with the fact that they've already implied that mankind had the technology to replace all of your body with cybernetics, it wouldn't be too far of a stretch to say that there's a possibility that Yoko herself was injured during this war or whatever that happened. Her sister implanted Yoko's brain inside of some new body that she created, and now she's only just recalling a lot of the memories that she may have lost. She thought that she wanted to go see all these sites that her sister's seen, but in actuality, she's just going through a retreading of her old days with her sister, going to each location where she took the photos of her sister. That's where I think it's going, and so it has a decent little twist in here to kind of intrigue me a little bit as the story plays out. I think the other question mark is going to be, who is Idy? Is Idy a human as well that has been implanted inside of a plasma arm girl? Again, it's got enough here to kind of keep me intrigued as to what they can do with the story. Then, of course, there's a question mark, is if her sister's even still alive? Was that a live feed where she was contacting Yoko and, giving her lessons, or was it some sort of AI that replaced her and she's never been there? Her sister definitely grew quite a bit compared to the photos that she took. Anyways, outside of that, I do like the world so far. Again, it's not to the levels of something like Girls Last Tour, but it's like an overgrown society. Going to each location. Sadly, they've been playing too heavily on the idea of everywhere they want to go is just flooded because the sea levels rised. So they're like, oh, here's the next location. Let's go there. Oh, it's underwater. Oh, let's go here. Oh, it's underwater. Most of second episode is just basically, oh, it's underwater. Oh, it's underwater. It's kind of boring in that regard. So hopefully after this point, we'll go more inland and we'll go to locations that we can, again, get a sense of how it's sort of been overgrown. I do like my post-apocalyptic settings. I do like the idea of, nature reclaiming the land and seeing how they have to forage for things and whatnot. And there's probably going to be like an addition of some sort of oddities about nature itself. Again, in the mutations, it already shows in the OP some large creature. They barely show like a foot of some large creature. So they're probably going to get pretty crazy with that. I don't know, maybe they'll bring back dinosaurs or something. The orca looked pretty huge. They had this massive orca that managed to get payback on the shark that stole Yoko's fish. The stupid shark that took Yoko's fish just goes over and hits it. Overall, it's been fun. I think the shenanigans between Yoko and Idy are definitely going to keep carrying the show. I don't know if they're going to keep including people that are cybernetics like Schwar and telling these little kind of gut punch little stories. Not that Schwar's story was deep. It was more of an idea of, oh, I'm actually human. I didn't know I can be human. I don't remember myself. And then suddenly having a reboot segment, restoring memories, recalling his family, realizing that he lost his family, and then wanting to return to them. It was a very bittersweet little ending to the idea of him returning home and that his family has been waiting for him for a long time. But it didn't really feel like it wanted to sit too much in it in order for it to be like super heartbreaking. But I can see them doing some really good stories with that. But we'll see. It's not like the greatest show this season, but I think overall it's probably going to be a good wind down show for the week. Just to kind of enjoy these girls traveling around, see my Renge blast things with her plasma cannon, stuff like that. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video, my little run through about touring after the apocalypse. I hope you guys enjoyed the video as always. If you did, hit that like button down below. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you're checking out the series, what you think about it, or if you're going to be checking it out. Additionally, I appreciate you guys' support. If you'd like to support this channel, become a member of the channel. Until next time, y'all take care.